Thank you, everybody, for being here. This is the end of season press conference, and just kind of want to go over a couple of things, season review, and kind of what to expect moving forward. Definitely not the season that we had envisioned in New England first year of ownership group. There's a lot of different things that we could have done better. I think truly it was a tough season for all of us, and I think we're going to learn from it and move forward. Paul Ranson did a really good job with what he stepped into. This was an organization that was a mess, quite truthfully, in terms of the actual roster construction. There's a lot of fundamental things that, we had to change. And Paul did a great job throughout the course of the season. Offensively, we definitely had some struggles. And Jamie Rodriguez installed some great, play calls later on in the season as Geno Smith continued to work to get better. You saw the run game definitely struggle. And I think that, moving forward, we're going to have a bigger attempt at, trying to run the football. We became so pass heavy, especially second half of the season. Can trade, really considering that we traded multiple running backs throughout the course of the season, changed up the dynamic of the run game. But I fully believe in Carlos Hyde heading into next season. I think he can be a true bell cow and a guy that could be a borderline Pro Bowler for this organization, despite his age. Now, kind of looking, Jamie did a good job trying to figure out how to play to his strengths on offense. Now, I definitely would like to see some of our other playmakers step up. James Mitchell, Brock Wright at the tight end spot. I feel like it's a very, very solid group. Looking at the wide receivers, Kevin Austin had a phenomenal season. I'm also kind of looking at, Dan Chisena. I'm looking at Tyree Cleveland. There's a couple of guys that I feel are, going to be more productive moving forward. The install should be better, should have a better game plan moving forward with this receiving core and these playmakers. I think we got a little too one dimensional, especially at the back half of the season. That can definitely change. And I kind of look at this defensive side of the ball. Jeffrey Penn was phenomenal this season. This was the second ranked defense in the entire league. They're able to generate some turnovers, high sack numbers. So we were getting after the quarterback effectively, also forcing some quarterbacks into some bad decisions. Now I think that's going to bode well next year. There's a couple games that we missed narrowly, but I think at the end of the day, we're going to continue to build this thing through the draft. I think that's the biggest thing. Free agency is not an option for us. We're going to operate under the idea that we're going to make this hopefully a good draft class. I like it, a lot of the prospects that I'm seeing, and I think there are some guys that can really fit the puzzle moving forward. Now, I know a lot of people have been asking about, the little scandal that happened in the middle of the season. I'm not going to comment any further on that. At the end of the day, this team was strong and competitive, especially down the stretch of the season after some meetings. This team definitely was able to pick up some steam down the very end of the stretch of the season, and honestly was pretty good. I think that was something that you have to be pretty positive about, considering where they were. So overall, interesting season. Let's say it that way. Geno Smith had his fair share of struggles. The guy threw, a couple interceptions here and there. And I think that's to be expected with such an inexperienced offensive line, an offensive line that, we truthfully had some issues trying to find some continuity. Definitely rotating some guys in and out and trying to figure out a rhythm, a mix. And that was not able to happen for us. So with that being said, the offensive line, hopefully next year, after playing one full season together, I know Jamie's going to have a phenomenal game plan put together for us. We're going to have a great offseason. Geno Smith's year two of, being a quarterback of the New England Patriots should, really bode well, if that is the case. Now, we are considering all things in the draft. I'm not going to confirm or deny if we're taking a quarterback, but I think that you have to try to get better every day. And I think there's some opportunity potentially in the draft to do so. So with that being said, I'm not going to comment any further on the draft. I know a lot of people are going to be asking about that. I'm not going to look at the draft and speak specifically on prospects. Now, another thing I do want to address: Jeffrey Penn has been receiving some interest around the league, and that's been a common thing that people have been asking me is, is Jeffrey Penn allowed to go interview for head coaching positions? And my angle on it is absolutely. I think when there are, potentially, other opportunities out there that might help seek, personal growth, I will never discourage somebody from doing that. Therefore, I think Jeffrey Penn has a great opportunity ahead of him. He's going to be interviewing with some of these other teams, put together a great defense, found some good pieces together, and really made it work during the season. So a lot of credit to Jeffrey Penn. I know there's been a couple of teams, I'm not going to name them, that have already requested to interview him, and I've granted permission to all teams that are seeking out him as their next head coach. So with that being addressed, Jeffrey Penn more than likely is going to get quite a few looks in the offseason. I would not be surprised if he is a head coach. I think it speaks volumes to what he's done here in New England, but also very well could force our hand at going to the drawing board. I think that's all realistically in play here. Jamie is going to continue to get better. I wouldn't be surprised to see potential opportunities there in the future for him. And kind of looking holistically at what can we expect next season. We were a 6-win team this year. Definitely had some heartbreaking losses, some frustrating losses. And I think really when it kind of boils down to is, are we going to be able to seek that same consistency that we saw those final, 4 weeks of the season? And I think the answer is going to be yes. A lot of inexperience on both sides of the ball definitely cost this team some games. And I expect nothing but the best here from Paul Ranson. His tenure here is very well going to be long served. And I think when you have a guy that's a good, true communicator with his players, to me, it makes a lot of sense to retain. And despite the 6-win season, I believe in what we're building. I think it's a culture building. I think there's a lot of different things that go into a winning football team. And Paul Ranson has what it takes to get to the highest level. He's been around some of the most successful coaches in the NFL. I think when you look at guys that have been around as long as him, have a true understanding of the game. He's a younger coach, but he has so much more experience than his resume leads on. I think this is a guy that very well could be a coach of the year candidate in the future. So Paul does a great job for us. Another player that people love talking about is Kevin Austin. I think I'd be lying if I said I thought he was going to win Offensive Player of the Year. I did not see that being an outcome this season. However, Geno Smith and him developed a great chemistry throughout the course of the season, therefore making it a really nice transition for him being a number one wide receiver. He proved that he can be a number one on a team, and I'm pretty excited to see what his future holds. There has been some teams in contact about potentially dealing for Kevin Austin. We are shutting down those trade talks right now. I think it's the best if we have Kevin Austin on this football team to help us continue to grow and get better in the future. There's so much to love about what we're trying to build here. Defensively, Hercules Mataafa is another player I want to highlight. Kind of looking at what we saw from him, a guy that's undersized for his position. It's clear that does not have the actual body mass of a true defensive tackle. However, he was able to make it work. Guy was able to win with finesse and true agility and just straight line speed. So with all those things culminating together, he put together one of the best defensive seasons in New England Patriot history. So a lot of credit to him, a lot of credit to Jeffrey Penn and what he was able to do, during the course of the season to work with Hercules. Obviously, Hercules is coming off, he had come off a really, really big injury with that torn ACL. So overall, impressive season there. A lot of young guys were contributing early on. And I think towards the end of the season, you were starting to see a little bit of writing on the wall of where this team can get. Now, I don't want to get too rah-rah for this, but I think there's a lot to be said for what we've seen those final couple of weeks, but do have my concerns. I think we got to make some major roster changes and potentially some staff changes in the offseason, make sure we are on the correct trajectory. I want to thanks everybody for stopping by here. Appreciate you all. It was a lot of fun this year. I can't wait to see you guys in week 1 next year.